The alarm bells rang through Luna Station like thunder in the night. Commander Jake Morrison ran down the metal hallway, his boots making loud sounds on the floor. He had been sleeping when the emergency call came in. Now he was wide awake and worried. "What do we have?" Jake asked as he entered the communication room. The room was full of computers and screens that showed space around Earth. Several officers were working at their stations, their faces lit up by the blue glow of the monitors. Lieutenant Amy Foster looked up from her screen. Her dark hair was messy from working all night. "Sir, we got a signal from deep space. It's not like anything we have seen before. The computer says it comes from outside our solar system." Jake walked over to Amy's station. On the screen, he could see strange patterns of light that moved up and down like waves. "How far away?" "About 50 light years, sir. The signal is very strong. Someone is using a lot of power to send this message." "Can we understand it?" Amy pressed some buttons on her keyboard. "The AI is working on it now. The patterns look like they might be a language, but it's taking time to figure out what they mean." Jake nodded and looked around the room. Everyone was working hard to solve this mystery. Earth had only been exploring space for a few hundred years. They had never found other life forms before. This could be the most important day in human history. "Sir," called out Private Sam Rodriguez from across the room. The AI finished the first part of the translation. "You need to see this." Jake walked over to Sam's station. On the screen, words in English were appearing as the computer worked on the alien message. "People of Earth," the message began. "We are the Galactic Council. We speak for 12 worlds of thinking beings. We need your help. We are dying." The room became very quiet. Everyone stopped working and looked at the screen. Jake felt his heart beating faster. The message continued. "A great enemy has come to our part of space. They are called the Vrektor. They eat everything. They destroy all life on the planets they visit. We have tried to fight them, but we cannot win. 11 of our worlds are already gone. Only we remain." Amy looked at Jake with wide eyes. "Sir, this is real. They're asking us for help. We have watched your world for a short time," the message went on. "Your people are young, but you have something we do not have. You know how to fight. Please, if you can hear this message, help us. We will share all our knowledge with you. We will give you anything you want. Just please help us live." The message ended with numbers that showed where the aliens were located in space. Then it started playing again from the beginning. Jake stood in silence for a moment. His mind was racing with thoughts. Aliens were real. They were asking Earth for help, and they were in danger from something terrible. "Get me a direct line to Earth Defense Command," Jake said to Amy, "and wake up President Hamilton. She needs to know about this right away." "Yes, sir," Amy said, and started making the calls. Within an hour, Jake was talking to the most important people on Earth through a video call. President Lisa Hamilton sat at a big table in the White House. Around her were Defense Secretary Ryan Cooper, General Bill Watson, and Dr. Alex Turner, who studied life from other planets. "Show me the message again," President Hamilton said. She was a strong woman who had led Earth through many difficult times, but Jake could see worry in her eyes. The alien message played on the screen. Everyone listened carefully. When it finished, the room was quiet. "How do we know this is real?" asked Defense Secretary Cooper. He was an older man who did not trust easily. "This could be a trick." Dr. Turner shook his head. "The signal came from deep space. No one on Earth could make something like this. The language patterns are too complex and strange. This has to be real." "Even if it's real," said General Watson, "what can we do? We don't know anything about space war. We barely have ships that can travel between planets. But we do know how to fight," President Hamilton said slowly. "That's what they said in their message. They said, we have something they don't have." Jake spoke up from Luna Station. "Ma'am, I've been thinking about this. These aliens sound peaceful. They probably never had wars like we did. They might not know how to be soldiers. You think they want us to teach them how to fight? Dr. Turner asked. Maybe, Jake said. Or maybe they want us to fight for them. The group talked for 2 more hours. They argued about the dangers and the benefits. Some people thought it was too risky. Others thought it was a great chance to make friends with aliens and learn about space. Finally, President Hamilton made her decision. We're going to help them. Dr. Turner, you're right. This could be our chance to join a community of planets. And if these Vector are as dangerous as they sound, they might come to Earth next. She turned to General Watson. I want you to prepare a small group of our best soldiers. Scientists too. We're going to send them to meet these aliens and see what we can do. How many people? The general asked. Start with 50. Soldiers, pilots, engineers, and scientists. Captain Danny Shaw will lead the mission. He's our best officer for this kind of work. General Watson nodded. What about ships? Use the U.S. Thunderhawk. It's our newest and fastest ship. Make sure it has everything they need for a long trip. Over the next week, Captain Danny Shaw picked his team. He chose Sergeant Kelly Brooks, who was smart and brave. He picked Corporal Mike Torres, who knew how to fix anything. Private Sam Rodriguez would handle communications. Dr. Alex Turner would study the aliens. Lieutenant Amy Foster would be his second in command. The day before they left, Captain Shaw stood in front of his team. They were all wearing their blue Earth Defense Force uniforms. Behind them, the UES Thunderhawk waited on the launch pad. We're going to meet aliens, Shaw said. We don't know what we'll find out there, but we know they need our help. We're going to do our best to save them. The team saluted. They walked to their ship and got ready for the longest journey humans had ever made. As the Thunderhawk lifted off from Earth, Jake Morrison watched from Luna Station. He wondered what would happen when humans met aliens for the first time. He wondered if Earth's soldiers could really help save 12 worlds from destruction. He did not know that this was just the beginning. He did not know that humans were about to show the galaxy what it meant to be apex predators. The journey to alien space took 3 weeks. Captain Danny Shaw spent most of his time studying everything his team could learn about the Galactic Council. Dr. Alex Turner worked day and night to understand the alien languages and customs. The ship's computer had stored all the messages they received from the aliens. Captain, Dr. Turner called from his small lab. You need to see this. Shaw walked over to where Turner was looking at his screen. On it were pictures of the 12 alien species that made up the Galactic Council. They're all different, Turner explained. This one here, the Zephyrians, they look like tall birds with 4 arms. The Zentari look like big cats that walk on 2 legs. The Aquathi live in water and have tentacles instead of hands. Shaw studied the pictures. The aliens were strange, but they did not look scary. Most of them had large eyes and gentle faces. They all look peaceful. That's the problem, Turner said. I've been reading their history files. None of these species ever had wars. They don't fight each other. They share resources and help each other build things. They've never had to learn how to kill. What about police? Do they have crime? Very little. When someone does something bad, they try to fix the person's mind or help them feel better. They don't have prisons or punishments like we do. Shaw shook his head. It was hard to imagine a world without violence. On Earth, humans had been fighting wars for thousands of years. Every country had soldiers and weapons. Even though Earth was mostly peaceful now, everyone knew how to fight when they needed to. What about these, Veractor? Shaw asked. What do we know about them? Turner's face became dark. They're the opposite of the Council species. Everything I can find says they're pure killers. They don't talk or make deals. They just attack and eat everything alive. Eat. They consume all biological matter on a planet. Plants, animals, even bacteria. They leave nothing but rock and metal behind. Shaw Felt sick thinking about it. How big are they? The reports say they're about the size of humans, but they look like giant insects. They have hard shells and sharp claws. They can survive in space without suits for short times. How many worlds have they destroyed? 11 so far. Each world had billions of people living on it. Turner paused and looked at his screen again. Captain, I don't think the Council really understands what they're asking us to do. They want help, but they don't know what war really means. 2 days later, the Thunderhawk arrived at Centauri Prime, the capital world of the Galactic Council. Shaw and his team looked out the windows at their first alien planet. It was beautiful. The oceans were purple, and the land was covered with silver cities that sparkled in the sunlight. Amazing, whispered Sergeant Kelly Brooks. It looks like something from a dream. Look at those buildings, said Corporal Mike Torres. They must be a mile tall, but they look like they grew instead of being built. The ship landed at a spaceport that was bigger than any city on Earth. Aliens of all different shapes and sizes moved around, working together to load and unload ships. Shaw had never seen so many different types of beings in one place. Remember, Shaw told his team, as they prepared to leave the ship, we're representing all of humanity. Be respectful, but stay alert. The humans walked down the ramp from their ship. Waiting for them was a group of aliens led by a tall, bird-like creature with golden feathers. This was Ambassador Kethler of the Zethrians. Welcome, humans of Earth, Kethler said in perfect English. His voice sounded like music. We are grateful that you have come so far to help us. Shaw stepped forward and saluted. Ambassador Kachilar, I am Captain Danny Shaw of the Earth Defense Force. We're here to help in any way we can. Kethler tilted his head in confusion. Earth Defense Force? You are soldiers? Yes, sir. We're trained to fight and protect people. The ambassador looked worried. We asked for help, but we did not expect... warriors. We do not understand this word, fight. Dr. Turner stepped up next to Shaw. Ambassador, may I ask you something? When the Vrektor attack your worlds, what do your people do? We try to run away. We evacuate as many people as possible to other worlds. Some stay behind to operate the defensive shields around our cities. What happens to the people who stay behind? Kethler's large eyes became sad. They die. The shields only last a few days. Then the Vrektor break through and kill everyone. Shaw and Turner looked at each other. Now they understood the problem. Ambassador, Shaw said carefully, on Earth, when someone attacks us, we fight back. We try to hurt our enemies so they cannot hurt us, hurt them. Kethler stepped backward. You mean cause pain on purpose? Sometimes that's the only way to protect innocent people. Kethler was quiet for a long moment. This is very difficult for us to understand. Come, the council is waiting to meet you. The humans were taken to a huge building in the center of the city. Inside, they met representatives from all 12 species. Shaw had never seen such strange and wonderful beings. Some were tall, some were short, some had fur, others had scales, but they all had the same thing in common. They looked afraid. The meeting was held in a large, round room. Each species had a place to sit that was made for their body type. The humans were given chairs like the ones they used on Earth. General Velthan of the Drakmari spoke first. He looked like a 7-foot-tall lizard, but his voice was gentle. Humans, we have studied your planet. Your species has survived many conflicts. We hope you can teach us how to protect ourselves. Shaw stood up. General, we want to help, but first, we need to understand exactly what we're fighting against. Can you show us what happened when the Vrektor attacked your worlds? The room became dark, and a holographic display appeared in the center. It showed a green planet covered with cities and forests. Then ships appeared in space around the planet. The ships looked like giant black beetles. This was Thyler 7, General Velthan explained. It had 4 billion Sylvani living on it. Watch what happened. The black ships moved toward the planet. Beams of energy shot down from the ships and hit the defensive shields around the cities. The shields glowed brighter and brighter as they tried to stop the attacks. The shields held for 3 days, the general said. Our people worked without rest to keep them powered. On the display, the shields began to flicker and fail. The black ships moved closer to the planet. Small pods dropped from the ships and landed on the surface. Then the Vector ground forces arrived. Shaw watched in horror as millions of insect-like creatures poured out of the pods. They were each about 6 feet tall, with 4 arms that ended in sharp claws. Their bodies were covered in black armor that looked like it was made of metal and bone. The creatures moved like a flood across the planet's surface. They attacked everything they found: buildings, plants, animals, and people. But they did not just kill. They also ate everything they killed. In 5 days, the planet was empty, General Velthan said. 4 billion people, gone. Millions of years of forests and wildlife, consumed. Nothing left but bare rock. The display ended, and the lights came back on. Shaw looked around the room and saw that several of the aliens were crying. How many ships attacked the planet? Lieutenant Amy Foster asked. About 200, the general answered. How many Vector soldiers were in each pod? Perhaps 1,000. Foster did some quick math in her head. So roughly 200,000 ground troops took an entire planet. Yes, but you must understand, our people did not fight back. They tried to hide or run away. The idea of hurting another living being is very hard for us. Shaw stood up again. General, I need to ask you a difficult question. If we're going to help you, we need to know, are you willing to learn how to kill? The room became very quiet. The aliens looked at each other with worried expressions. Finally, Ambassador Kethler spoke. Captain Shaw, if learning to kill is the only way to save our children, then yes, we will learn. Captain Shaw spent the next 2 days walking through the alien cities and talking to the council members. What he learned made him both amazed and worried. The aliens had technology that was far better than anything on Earth. Their medical machines could heal almost any injury in minutes. Their computers were so smart they seemed almost alive. Their ships could travel between stars in days instead of weeks, but they had no weapons. None at all. It's like they never thought that someone might want to hurt them, Shaw told Dr. Turner, as they stood on a balcony overlooking the city. They've been peaceful for so long, they forgot that danger could exist. Can we really teach them to fight? Turner asked. Some of these species don't even have the right body parts for holding weapons. We'll figure it out, Shaw said. We have to. That afternoon, Shaw met with the council's military leaders. He used the word military loosely. These aliens were more like emergency workers than soldiers. They knew how to evacuate people and operate defensive shields, but they had never planned an attack in their lives. The Vector are coming, General Velthan explained as he showed Shaw a star map. Our scouts report a large fleet moving toward the Kepler system. That's where our main research colonies are located. They'll be here in 6 days. Shaw studied the map. The Vector fleet was massive, over 500 ships. How many people live in the Kepler system? About 2 million, said Admiral Tish of the Aquathi. She looked like a dolphin that could walk on land. We've been trying to evacuate them, but our transport ships are too slow. What if we don't evacuate them? Shaw asked. The aliens looked shocked. Captain, Admiral Tashara said, if we leave them there, they will die. Not if we stop the Vector first. General Velthan shook his head. Impossible. We have tried to fight them before. They always win. Shaw pulled out a small computer tablet and projected a holographic display of his own. It showed the battle for Thyler 7 that he had recorded earlier. Look at how they attack, Shaw said, pointing to the display. They come straight at you in a big group. They don't try to be sneaky or smart. They just use their numbers to overwhelm you. Yes, the general agreed. That is their way. But that makes them predictable. On Earth, we learned long ago that you can beat a bigger enemy if you're smarter than they are. Shaw changed the display to show a different view of the battle. See how they spread out when they reach the planet. They don't stay together. They split up to cover more ground. That's how they consume everything so quickly, Admiral Tish said. But it's also their weakness. When they spread out, they become vulnerable. We can hit small groups of them instead of trying to fight the whole army at once. Shaw spent the next hour explaining human military tactics to the confused aliens. He talked about ambushes, flanking maneuvers, and divide-and-conquer strategies. The aliens listened carefully, but he could see they were having trouble understanding. "Let me show you something," Shaw said. He contacted the Thunderhawk and asked Sergeant Brooks to come to the meeting with a small team. 20 minutes later, Brooks arrived with Corporal Torres and Private Rodriguez. Shaw had them demonstrate a simple military exercise. "Pretend that table is an enemy position," Shaw told the aliens. "Torres, you attack from the front." Torres moved toward the table while making shooting sounds with his mouth. The aliens watched with interest. "Now watch what happens when we work together," Shaw said. "Torres, attack from the front again. Brooks, you go around the side. Rodriguez, you circle behind." The three humans moved at the same time. Torres got the enemy's attention from the front, while Brooks and Rodriguez attacked from the sides. The imaginary enemy was surrounded and defeated quickly. "Do you see?" Shaw asked the aliens. "Three soldiers working together can beat a larger force that doesn't expect the attack." General Velthan stood up excitedly. "I think I understand. Instead of meeting them in a direct battle, we attack them when they don't expect it." "Exactly. But it's going to take practice. Your people need to learn how to move like soldiers and think like warriors over the next 3 days." Shaw and his team worked with volunteer aliens to create the galaxy's first mixed-species military unit. It was not easy. The Drakmari were strong, but slow. The Zephyrians were fast but fragile. The Aquathai could only fight in water or in special suits, but slowly. They began to learn. Sergeant Brooks taught a group of young Zentari how to move quietly and hide from enemies. The cat-like aliens were natural hunters, and they learned quickly. Corporal Torres worked with Aquathai engineers to modify their tools into weapons. They created energy rifles that could hurt the Vector S armor. Dr. Turner studied vector biology with Zentari scientists. They discovered that the insect creatures had weak spots between their armor plates and were vulnerable to certain frequencies of sound. On the 4th day, their chance came sooner than expected. "Captain," Private Rodriguez called out as he ran into the training area. "We're getting reports from the edge of the system. Vector scouts have been spotted near the mining colony on Asteroid Base 7. Shaw grabbed his communication device and contacted the Thunderhawk. "All human personnel, report to the ship immediately. This is not a drill." He turned to the aliens, who had been training with them. "Who wants to come with us on a real mission?" Several aliens stepped forward. There was Chiron, a young Zentari who had learned to use human weapons. Next, a Drakmari, who was eager to prove his people could fight. And Zarami, an Aquathai engineer who had helped design their new weapons. "Are you sure?" Shaw asked them. "This will be dangerous. Some of us might not come back." "Captain," Chiron said in his deep, rumbling voice, "my sister lived on Thyler 7. She died when the Vector came. I want to make sure that never happens again." The mixed human-alien team boarded the Thunderhawk and flew toward Asteroid Base 7. It was a small mining station where only a few thousand people worked. If the Vector were scouting it, that meant a larger attack was coming soon. 3 ships, Lieutenant Foster reported, as they approached the asteroid. "They're small scout vessels, but they're definitely Vector." Shaw looked at the enemy ships on the screen. They were sleek and black, like mechanical wasps. How many crew members in each ship? Scans show about 20 Vractor per ship, 60 total. And how many people are on the mining station? About 3,000. Shaw made his decision. We're going to stop them here. If we let them report back to their fleet, the miners won't have time to evacuate. The battle plan was simple. The Thunderhawk would attack the scout ships, while teams of soldiers boarded the asteroid to protect the miners. It would be the first time humans and aliens fought together against the Vractar. Remember, Shaw told his mixed team as they prepared for battle, the Vractar don't think like we do. They don't try to be clever or make plans. They just attack with everything they have. Use that against them. The Thunderhawk opened fire on the Vector ships. The alien scouts were caught off guard. They had never faced an enemy that attacked them first. 2 of the ships were destroyed immediately. The 3rd ship tried to escape, but Corporal Torres had programmed their weapons to track fast-moving targets. The ship exploded in a ball of fire. Good work, Shaw said. But some of them might have gotten to the asteroid before we arrived. Teams 2 and 3 board the station and check for Vractor infiltrators. Sergeant Brooks led her team through the mining tunnels. With her were Chiron and 2 other Zentari, who moved like shadows through the darkness. They found the in the main mining chamber. The insect creatures were bigger than Brooks had expected. They stood 7 feet tall and moved on 6 legs, like giant spiders. Their black armor gleamed in the artificial light, and their claws could cut through metal. But Brooks and her team were ready. Now, Brooks whispered into her radio. The Zentari attacked from 3 different directions, while Brooks provided covering fire with her energy rifle. The Vector were strong and fast, but they couldn't fight enemies they couldn't see. Within minutes, all 15 Vector infiltrators were dead. Station secured, Brooks reported. No casualties on our side. Shaw smiled as he heard the report. It was their first real victory against the Vrake. But more importantly, it proved that humans and aliens could fight together successfully. When they returned to Centauri Prime, the news of their victory spread quickly through the Council. For the first time since the war began, the aliens had... Hope you did it, Ambassador Kethler said to Shaw. You actually defeated them. This was just the beginning, Shaw replied. The real test is still coming. But now we know it's possible to win. That night, Shaw sent a message back to Earth. He told them about the aliens, about the Vractor threat, and about their first victory. He also made a request. We need more ships and more soldiers, he said. This is bigger than we thought. We're not just helping the Council anymore. We're fighting for the survival of all peaceful life in the galaxy. 2 weeks after Shaw's message reached Earth, the sky above Centauri Prime filled with human warships. Admiral Kate Harrison had brought the largest space fleet in Earth's history. 50 ships of different sizes formed a protective wall around the alien world. Captain Shaw stood on the command deck of the flagship UES Vengeance and watched the aliens' reaction to the human fleet. Many of them had never seen so many warships in one place. Some looked amazed, others looked scared. Impressive sight, isn't it? Admiral Harrison said as she joined Shaw at the observation window. She was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. 12 billion people on Earth decided they wanted to help your new friends. Yes, ma'am, Shaw replied, but I hope it's enough. The Vractor are bringing everything they have. Tell me about these aliens, Harrison said. Can they really learn to fight? Shaw thought about the past few weeks of training. Some of them, yes. The Zentari are natural hunters. The Drakmari are incredibly strong. The Aquathi are excellent with technology. But Admiral, they're still not comfortable with the idea of killing. And the Vractor, they live for it. Killing and eating are the only things they understand. Harrison nodded. Then we'll have to teach our allies that sometimes killing is necessary to protect life. Over the next few days, the human fleet worked with the aliens to prepare for the coming battle. Colonel Ben Parker, Shaw's old friend from the academy, had brought 5,000 human soldiers. They were split into teams that worked with different alien species. Captain Nick Johnson led a stealth unit that taught the Zephyrians how to scout enemy positions without being seen. The bird-like aliens were perfect for this job because they could fly and had excellent eyesight. Major Steve Walsh trained Drakmari soldiers how to use heavy weapons and assault tactics. The lizard-like aliens were slow, but they were strong enough to carry weapons that would crush a human. Private Lisa Chen worked with Sovani scientists to create new types of explosives using their plant manipulation abilities. They learned how to make trees and vines explode when the Vractor touched them. But the most important work was being done by Dr. Turner and the Zentari scientists. They had been studying captured Vractor technology and biology, looking for weaknesses they could exploit. "I think we found something," Dr. Turner told Admiral Harrison during a briefing. "The Vractor have a hive mind. They're all connected to their queen through some kind of psychic link." "What does that mean for us?" Harrison asked. "If we can disrupt that link, their soldiers will become confused and disorganized. They might even attack each other. How do we disrupt it?" "We're working on a weapon that produces specific sound frequencies, but we need to get close to their command ship to use it." Harrison studied the tactical display that showed the approaching Vractor fleet. How close? Very close. Someone would have to board their ship and plant the device manually. "That's a suicide mission." "Maybe, but it might be our only chance to stop them." The Vractor fleet arrived 3 days later. Shaw watched from the Bridge of the Vengeance as hundreds of black ships emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. They looked like a swarm of insects moving toward the planets. "My God," whispered Lieutenant Foster, who had been promoted to Shaw's tactical officer. "There must be 1,000 ships." 1,200, Admiral Harrison corrected, "and they're heading straight for us." The alien defense fleet was much smaller, only 200 ships from all 12 Council species. But now they had human tactics and human weapons to help them. "All ships, this is Admiral Harrison," she announced over the communication system. "Remember your training, stay in formation, watch for the signals from your human advisors, and don't try to be heroes. We win this battle together or not at all." The battle began when the Vractor were still an hour away from the planet. Human fighters launched from the larger ships and attacked the enemy scouts. The pilots had trained with Safarian flyers who could see enemies from much farther away than humans could. "Enemy fighters destroyed," reported Captain Johnson. "But the main fleet is still coming." Admiral Harrison turned to Shaw. "Captain, take your team and prepare for the boarding mission. If we can't stop their queen, this is going to be a very short war." Shaw gathered his best people for the most dangerous mission of their lives. Sergeant Brooks, Corporal Torres, and Private Rodriguez were joined by Chiron the Centauri and Nexith the Drakmari. Dr. Turner also insisted on coming because he was the only one who understood how the psychic disruptor worked. "Are you sure about this, Doctor?" Shaw asked, as they prepared to board a small stealth ship. "You're not a soldier, Captain," Turner replied. "I've studied the Vractor for weeks. If something goes wrong with the device, you'll need me there to fix it." The stealth ship was a new design that combined human technology with alien cloaking systems. It could become invisible to Vractor sensors, but only for a short time. They launched from the Vengeance just as the main battle began. Shaw watched through the ship's windows as hundreds of vessels fired at each other with weapons that lit up space like a fireworks display. "Look at that," Corporal Torres said, pointing to a section of the battle where Aquathy ships were working together to surround a group of Vractor destroyers. "The aliens are actually doing it. They're fighting like soldiers." "Colonel Parker's training is paying off," Shaw said, but he could also see that the human alien fleet was outnumbered 3-1. They were fighting bravely, but they couldn't win by force alone. The stealth ship moved through the battle toward the center of the Vractor fleet. There, protected by a wall of warships, was the largest vessel Shaw had ever seen. It was 5 miles long and looked like a giant black beetle, with weapons covering every surface. "That's the hive ship," Dr. Turner said. "The Queen is in there somewhere." "How do we get inside?" Sergeant Brooks asked. "There," Chiron pointed with one of his 4 arms. "Loading bay near the bottom. My enhanced eyes can see movement. There, bringing in prisoners from captured ships." Shaw felt sick. The Vrector were already taking people to feed their queen. "Can we get in through that bay?" "The ship's stealth systems are failing," Torres reported. "We've got maybe 5 minutes before they detect us." "That's enough," Shaw said. "Take us in." The small ship slipped through the Vrector defenses and into the loading bay of the hive ship. Inside, they could see hundreds of Vrector workers, moving captured aliens toward the center of the ship. "Remember," Shaw told his team as they prepared to leave their ship, "we're not here to save everyone. Our job is to plant the disruptor and get out. If we fail, billions more will die." They fought their way through the corridors of the alien ship. The Vrector they encountered were different from the soldiers they had faced before. These were workers smaller and weaker, but still dangerous. Nyx's strength was incredible. He could tear through Vrector armor with his bare hands. Chiron moved like a ghost, appearing behind enemies and striking before they knew he was there. But it was Dr. Turner who surprised Shaw the most. The scientist had never been in combat before, but he fought with determination to protect the device he carried. They reached the center of the ship after 20 minutes of fighting. There, in a huge chamber filled with organic machinery, they found the Vrector Queen. She was enormous, 30 feet tall, and covered in armor that looked like it was made of living metal. Her 6 arms each ended in claws that could cut through steel. But the worst thing about her was her intelligence. Shaw could see it in her eyes. This was not just a mindless killer. This was a creature that chose to destroy entire worlds. "Humans," the Queen said in perfect English. Her voice sounded like metal scraping against stone. "I have been waiting to meet you. You taste different from the others. Plant the device." Shaw shouted to Dr. Turner. "Now." Turner ran toward the organic computers that connected the Queen to her fleet. But the Queen was faster than something that big should be. One of her claws swept toward the scientist. Sergeant Brooks threw herself between the Queen and Turner. The claw caught her in the chest and threw her across the room. She hit the wall and didn't get up. "Kelly!" Shaw screamed. He opened fire with his energy rifle, but the Queen's armor was too strong. Turner reached the computers and began connecting his device. 30 seconds, he called out. "I need 30 seconds. Nexith and Chiron attacked the Queen from both sides, trying to keep her away from Turner. The Drakmary's claws scraped against her armor while the Zentari struck at the joints between her armor plates. But the Queen was too powerful. She grabbed Nexith with 2 of her arms and began to squeeze. Shaw could hear the Drakmary's bones breaking. 20 seconds. Turner shouted. Shaw made a decision that would haunt him for the rest of his life. He left his fallen friends and ran toward the Queen with a grenade in his hand. If he could get close enough, he could damage her armor and give Turner the time he needed. The Queen saw him coming. She threw Nexith aside and reached for Shaw with all 6 arms. But Chiron was faster. The Zentari leaped onto the Queen's back and drove his claws into the weak spots Turner had identified. The Queen screamed and stumbled backward. 10 seconds, Turner called. The device activated with a sound like thunder. Instantly, the organic computers around the chamber began to smoke and spark. The Queen clutched her head and screamed louder than Shaw thought was possible. 6 months after the defeat of the Vrector, Captain Danny Shaw stood in front of the largest gathering in galactic history. Representatives from all 12 council species filled the Great Assembly Hall on Zentari Prime, but they were not alone. Humans now sat among them as equal members of the Galactic Council. Shaw had been promoted to Admiral after the war. He commanded the new Galactic Defense Force, a combined military that included soldiers from every species. It was something that would have been impossible before humans arrived and taught the galaxy how to fight. Admiral Shaw, Ambassador said as he stood at the speaker's podium, "Would you please come forward?" Shaw walked to the center of the hall. Around him, thousands of aliens and humans watched. He still felt strange being the center of attention like this. Just a year ago, he had been a simple ship captain. Now he was helping to shape the future of the galaxy. Today, Kethler announced, "We vote on the proposal to establish permanent defense stations throughout Council space. These stations will be staffed by the new mixed-species military units and equipped with the latest weapons technology." The vote was unanimous. Every species agreed that they needed to be ready in case another threat like the Vrektor ever appeared. After the ceremony, Shaw walked through the gardens outside the assembly hall with Dr. Alex Turner. The scientist had also been promoted. He was now the head of the new Xenobiology Research Center, where humans and aliens worked together to understand life throughout the galaxy. "It's hard to believe how much has changed," Turner said as they watched a group of young humans and aliens training together in a nearby field. A year ago, these species had never seen violence. Now they're learning military tactics. "Do you think we did the right thing?" Shaw asked. "Teaching them to fight, I mean." Turner was quiet for a moment. "I've been thinking about that a lot. These species lost their innocence because of us. They can never go back to the way they were before. But they're alive," Shaw pointed out. "Without learning to fight, they would all be dead now." "True, and look at what they've accomplished." Turner gestured toward the training field. "The Zentari have become excellent scouts and snipers. The Drakmari make incredible shock troops. The Aquathi have designed weapons that are better than anything we had on Earth." Shaw nodded. Each species had found their own way to contribute to the war effort. The Sylvani used their plant abilities to create living fortifications. The Zephyrians became the best pilots in the galaxy. Even the smallest species found ways to help. "The question is," Turner continued, "what happens now? The Vrektor are gone. Do we keep building armies, or do we try to go back to peace?" Before Shaw could answer, his communication device beeped. It was a message from the Deep Space Monitoring Station at the edge of Council territory. "Admiral," the voice of Lieutenant Amy Foster came through the device. She now commanded the monitoring station and was responsible for watching for new threats. "We're picking up some unusual signals from the Andromeda sector." Shaw and Turner looked at each other. The Andromeda sector was unexplored territory beyond the edge of Council space. "What kind of signals?" Shaw asked. "Energy signatures that match weapons fire, and Admiral... There are a lot of ships out there, more than we've ever seen before." Shaw felt his heart sink. They had hoped that defeating the Vrektor would bring lasting peace to the galaxy, but it seemed that there were other threats waiting in the darkness of space. "How long until they reach Council territory?" Shaw asked. "Unknown, sir, but based on their current course and speed, maybe 6 months." Shaw closed the communication and looked at Turner. "I guess that answers your question. We keep building armies." Over the next few weeks, Shaw worked with the Council to prepare for this new threat. They sent scout ships to the edge of the galaxy to learn more about the approaching fleet. What they discovered was both amazing and terrifying. The ships belonged to a species called the Hegemony, a group of different alien races that had conquered most of their own galaxy. They were not mindless killers like the Vrektor. They were intelligent, organized, and incredibly advanced, and they were coming to add the Milky Way galaxy to their empire. "How many ships?" Admiral Harrison asked during a strategy meeting aboard the Vengeance. She had decided to stay in alien space to help coordinate the defense. "Our scouts counted over 10,000, reported Captain Johnson, and that's just the advance fleet. Intelligence suggests the main force is much larger." Shaw studied the tactical displays that showed the Hegemony's approach route. They're moving slowly, taking time to study each system they pass through. They're not rushing like the Vector did. That could work in our favor, said General Velthan. It gives us time to prepare. Or it means they're so confident they don't think we can stop them, Harrison pointed out. Shaw made his decision. We're going to use the same strategy that worked against the Vector, but on a larger scale. We'll hit their advanced scouts and supply lines, make them think twice about continuing their invasion. The new Galactic Defense Force was much larger than the fleet that had fought the Vector. Every species contributed ships and soldiers. The humans provided tactical knowledge and leadership. Together, they created the most powerful military force the galaxy had ever seen. But Shaw knew it might not be enough. The hegemony had conquered an entire galaxy. They had experience fighting many different types of enemies. This would not be an easy victory. The first contact with the hegemony came 3 months later. A small human-alien patrol encountered a hegemony scout fleet near the edge of Council space. The battle was brief, but intense. Captain Mike Torres, now commanding his own ship, led the patrol. His mixed crew included humans, Zentari, and Aquathi, working together as a perfect team. Enemy ships are bigger than ours, Torres reported during the battle, but they're not as fast. Their weapons are powerful, but they seem to have trouble targeting multiple small ships at once. The patrol destroyed 2 hegemony ships and captured a third. When Shaw examined the captured vessel, he learned something important about their new enemy. They're not a single species, Dr. Turner explained after studying the captured crew. The hegemony is made up of dozens of different alien races working together, but it's not voluntary cooperation like our council. They're slaves. Shaw looked at the alien prisoners. They came from 3 different species, but they all had the same thing in common: cybernetic implants that controlled their behavior. They're being controlled, Turner continued. These implants override their natural instincts and force them to obey orders. Can we remove the implants? Shaw asked. Maybe, but it would be dangerous. The implants are connected to their brains. Shaw made another difficult decision. Do it. If we can free some of their people, we might learn more about how to fight them. The surgery took 6 hours. But Dr. Turner and the alien medical team succeeded in removing the implants from one of the prisoners. When the alien woke up, he was terrified. Please, he said in broken English that the translation system had taught him, don't hurt me. I didn't want to fight you. Shaw sat down next to the alien's medical bed. We're not going to hurt you. What's your name, Zektar? I was a teacher on my homeworld before the hegemony came. How long ago was that? 20 of your years. They destroyed our cities and took the survivors. The strong ones became soldiers. The smart ones became workers. The rest. Zektar didn't finish the sentence. Shaw felt anger building inside him. The hegemony was even worse than the Vector. At least the insect creatures killed quickly. The hegemony enslaved entire species and forced them to conquer other worlds. Zektar, Shaw said gently, would you be willing to help us fight them? The alien looked surprised. You would trust me? You didn't choose to be our enemy. You were forced to fight against your will. Now you have a choice. Zektar was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. Yes, I will help you free my people. The information Zektar provided changed everything. The Galactic Defense Force learned that the hegemony's main weakness was its reliance on the control implants. If they could disrupt the signal that controlled the implants, millions of enslaved soldiers would be freed at once. Shaw developed a new battle plan. Instead of trying to destroy the hegemony fleet, they would target the control ships that transmitted orders to the enslaved soldiers. It would be dangerous. The control ships were heavily protected, but if they succeeded, they could turn the hegemony's own army against them. The final battle took place in the space between galaxies. The Galactic Defense Force met the hegemony advance fleet at the edge of the Milky Way. Shaw commanded the operation from his flagship, the UES Liberty, with Admiral Harrison serving as his second-in-command. Remember, Shaw announced to the entire fleet, "We're not just fighting for our own freedom. We're fighting to free millions of enslaved beings who have been forced to serve the hegemony." The battle was the largest in galactic history. Thousands of ships from both sides clashed, in a conflict that lasted for 3 days. The mixed human-alien crew showed incredible skill and bravery, using tactics that the hegemony had never encountered before. On the second day, Shaw led a strike team to board one of the hegemony control ships. His team,